Welcome back to the Laura Dowling Experience podcast, where each week I bring you insightful and inspiring guests that will open your mind and empower your life. Before we get into today's episode, I would love to ask you for a little favour. If you like this podcast, and I know so many of you do, you could really help me out by giving it a nice rating, sharing it with your friends, and subscribing to the podcast. It may not seem like a big deal, but actually this really helps to keep the podcast high up in the charts, and that means that I can keep bringing you brilliant guests who are insightful, inspiring, and full of wisdom that we can all learn from. Thanks a million. Now let's get to it. Are you navigating perimenopause or menopause? Then Fabu Shroom's Meno & Peri is the supplement blend for you. With the functional mushroom lion's mane plus essential vitamins and minerals to support hormone balance, energy, metabolism, bone health, and just give you your mojo back. Join the hundreds of thousands of women who love this blend and who, in their own words, feel more like themselves again. Check out these amazing reviews on fabulwellness.com, available on fabulwellness.com and in pharmacies and health food stores nationwide. Sheila, what a pleasure it is to have you on my podcast.
I know. This is a treat for me because it rarely happens.
Yeah.
And you're probably like me. You probably get asked to do loads of podcasts, but it's not that you don't want to do them, but it's not enough hours in the day for starters. No. And then because I'm in a lucky position that people ask me, then I get maybe to be a bit more selective. So this is lovely. I just knew that if I was going to chat to anyone about, I have documentaries coming out which we're going to get to and I want to talk about them, it was going to be you. I love whenever you're on mine. We always have great chats. So but it's nice to be in this position and not have to worry about, you know what I mean? It's
I know. It is. It is. Absolutely. Yeah. And the thing about being asked onto podcasts, sometimes I'm worried, like I'm going, Jesus, am I talking about the same thing on every podcast? Well, I'm going to bore the arse off people.
You never do though. People love you.
Things can meander, can't they?
Of course they do. And that's the thing, like even though you think on paper it might be the same chat, but because the person and the vibe is different, you know, you end up sharing completely different things, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I do want to talk to you about the documentaries that are coming up.
Okay, great.
Because they're great topics.
Thank you. Yeah, they're meaty, aren't they?
Yeah.
So basically, we filmed them over a long period of time.
Yeah.
So one of them is on parenting, one is on anxiety, and the other is on bullying. It's called On Síle Maratá, and they'll be on TG Cahet in February.
Okay.
Starting on Wednesday the 11th and getting all the mentions in.
Yeah.
But so we filmed them over like months and months and months. So we travelled the country, we spoke to loads of different people, getting loads of different perspectives. We even went to Norway actually.
How was that?
As well. It's very cool.
Yeah.
Gorgeous and interesting. And, you know, get another perspective, I suppose, particularly when it came to parenting. We would look to the Scandinavian countries as doing it very well. Yeah. So it was great to see actually what the reality of that was like. And yes, there are loads of positives, but it's not the panacea either. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I suppose, you know, when you take a topic like parenting, and a lot of us find ourselves being parents, I'm a mother, but we all have different expressions of it or different demands. And then looking at our modern lives and how it is and the pressures that we're under, and how parenting is so different now versus what it was, you know, when we were kids. So yeah, it's really taking a snapshot. It's listening to as many perspectives, trying to learn, and then hearing from experts as well to see how we can lift the stress, lift the pressure. So it's not Primetime Investigates, because I'm not an investigative journalist, but it is about really trying to explore the topic in as full a rich way as we can, and hopefully leave the viewer with a sense of, well, they're not alone if they're struggling, that it's not all doom and gloom, and actually parenting is such a privilege, but also it's okay to admit that we're struggling in a capitalist world that is so intense for so many of us. It's not the norm. It's kind of like what Garbo Mate speaks about in The Myth of Normal. We're living in this world expected that it's a normal kind of structure. It isn't. The world in which we live is not normal, particularly now with what's happening in the world and how it impacts us. And that filters into all areas of life. So look, I could go on for years about it, but you know, it was a privilege to work on these, and I met so many different people. But parenting is the first one going out, and then anxiety and bullying. And again, as you would imagine with bullying, at times it's very emotional. We're meeting people who are making themselves very vulnerable and sharing, and it's very powerful to listen to them.
And are you talking about bullying from a child's perspective or from an adult's perspective?
Both.
Looking back on their childhood, or adults that are bullied?
Yeah, absolutely. In both situations, we
Okay.
have people who in adulthood, in the workplace, were bullied. Then we speak to somebody else who in his childhood and teenage years really suffered as a result of bullying as well. And again, you're exploring like, you know, different facets of society that really are impacted by it. So female politicians are amongst the most vulnerable cohort in society where they get awful abuse.
Yeah.
And we spoke to a professor who had carried out extensive research on this very topic. And some of the findings, I didn't think I'd be easily shocked, but some of the findings were really, just devastating. And
do the female politicians mainly get bullied by men in a misogynistic way, or is it by females as well?
see, a lot of this is actually online and a lot of it is anonymous. So it's hard to know. I wouldn't be able to answer that in particular.
Okay.
I'm not exactly sure. But certainly we spoke to, say, Ivana Bacik,
Yeah.
as somebody who has been a politician for
Yeah.
many decades now, to get her perspective as well. And even some of the stuff that she was sharing with us, she's clearly a very strong woman that is in a place where it's not that it never affected her, it didn't bother her, but she was able to maybe process it. And I know that encouraging women into politics is so important. You know, it is. And we want to see more women in politics. But I also understand why it's a difficult world to be in, because it's not a normal job, you know?
No.
And while we have a public profile, we don't experience the type of trolling and abuse that female politicians
No,
get.
I feel they're putting themselves out there in a very different way. There's absolutely no way on this God's earth you could ask me to do that.
Yeah.
I see just from the outside looking in what happens. Also, I think it's a really thankless job. But
Such an important one, though.
it is. And you don't want to be putting people off, but I think God for women, and I know what you're talking about, that kind of abuse that they may get is just, it's awful. I spoke to Claire Daly. She was on the podcast.
Yeah.
She spoke to me about it as well, and just being like called a fucking bitch, like to her face, you know, walking down the street, like just awful stuff that's unnecessary.
Yeah, completely.
And then how does Ireland fare in terms of parenting? Are we good parents? Like, you know, we were saying, like you saw Norway and what they're doing, and we looked to the Scandinavian countries because they've like 10 years of maternity and paternity, you know, they've lots of maternity, paternity leave. Breastfeeding is very much advocated for, but also, which most importantly, supported. It's not
Correct.
we're not just told go and breastfeed, you're actually given the support around it. So how does Ireland fare compared to that? Was it like a compare and contrast?
Not really.
or-
It was to go there and see what the reality is and really experience and be in a home. So we went to a home. So an Irish woman is living there. So we were
Okay.
with her and her family.
Yeah.
And we went to the school the kids were going to. So we got to really feel it for the few days we were there and get her take as somebody who's Irish and who'd moved there to see what she felt. But certainly like lots of positives. Absolutely. But I definitely didn't feel as deflated coming back to Ireland. I think we're doing a lot right, actually. But I think it's a global issue. It really is a global issue. And the pressure that people are under financially. And we are under, I mean, look, the housing crisis, the cost of living crisis here is putting untold pressure on people. And it's the lack of choice in a lot of situations. Like some people want to go out to work. They don't want to be at home maybe with their kids all the time. Like I adore my children, but I love my work and I love the space. And yes, when you analyse it, are at times am I feeling guilty about childcare, but I wouldn't be able to function without it. And I feel like I have, you know, we're doing the best we can. There's a good balance there. I also know when to say no to work for me. And I'm in a lucky position that financially I can say no to work. Do you know? But I think we're in good shape, but there still has to be a lot done. And we did speak to the Women's Council as well and their campaign to get more supports for families, you know, and certainly there's a lot more needed and that comes at government level, you know, change needs to happen.
The childcare issue is huge. Now, I am out of that situation now because my youngest is heading for 13.
Yeah.
But I did the creche days when I was in the pharmacy, and my sister is now in that situation. So her 1-year-old is going to creche, and I see Rachel, she's rushing to get the baby to the creche, to get into work on time, and then rushing home to not miss the creche.
Yeah.
So I was lucky enough so I could work. So I worked, say, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday and Saturday. So I had the Thursday, Friday off. So the kids were in the creche, say, 3 days a week. But now you can't do that. Your kid has to be in the creche 5 days a week because it's not financially viable for the creche to have them in 3 days a week when they could have someone in for 5 days.
Okay.
And the government gives some kind of a rebate.
Yes.
But unless the kid is in 5 days a week, you don't get the government rebate either. They're forcing you to put your child into creche 5 days.
Yeah.
And I was like, could you pay for them for 5 days, but not
actually
put them in?
That's what I was thinking.
No, it has to be actually logged that they're in.
Okay.
So there's all of this.
That's bizarre.
Imagine
that
forcing.
makes no sense.
It makes no sense forcing a mother or father to be away from their child 5 days when, say, they may want to put them in for the 5 days, but even if they're willing to pay for the 5 days, but only put them in for 4, they have to be logged in for the 5 days, or else sick or something. It just is bizarre. Like, you're taking children away from their parents when their parents want to be with them on those other days. It's just, and the fact that you can't do part-time or shared childcare. And I know childcare is a business, and I absolutely know people in that business are up to their eyeballs in bureaucracy and documents and health and safety. And I know it costs a lot of money to have that in place. Sure. And I do know that childcare workers aren't the best paid either. And it's a difficult business to run, but women need support. Don't they?
Oh, absolutely.
Because if they, and you know, in order to make the childcare fee, you have to work a certain amount and earn a certain amount. So women that aren't earning that, it's just not worth their while.
No, it's not.
And I would have seen women coming into the pharmacy with a CV back in the day, and they would have had to have taken 10, 12 years out to mind the kids, and then they're back. They would have maybe gone to college, had their masters, whatever. They're back in looking for a job, and they start at the bottom of the rung then. Yeah. In terms of pay and stuff. So it does seem really unfair.
Yeah, big time. Like, one of the women we speak to, like, she has 3 kids, and while on maternity leave, she's kind of reassessing her career. And while she loved her job, she's had to take a completely different job because it's just not sustainable with the amount of time being away from home, travel, all that goes with it. And she was embarking on a brand new job. And look, she was happy with her decision, and she knew it had to be done. And I suppose that's reality about, you know, modern parenting. It's about compromise and change, and that's the way it is. But yeah, definitely women in particular need to be supported more so that they can actually thrive in their careers while having children. You know, but then of course the big questions, and it's something that Jerry Hussey actually speaks about. I don't want to reveal everything in the documentary, but he certainly asks questions very much along the lines of Gabor Mate, the way he speaks about, if you're struggling with this, ask yourself, why are you struggling? And maybe there's a very simple reason for this. We're not meant to feel like this is normal, because it kind of isn't.
Yeah. And do you struggle with the mum guilt?
I used to probably more. I'm less so now.
Okay.
Maybe it's because they're getting a bit older.
Yeah.
I definitely felt it, you know, when you're handing over your babas, and if they're having a moment where they're maybe crying for you, God, that's awful hard.
No.
You know, luckily they never really did that too much. Some mornings I'd almost want them to go, will you miss me, you little feckers?
I know.
Don't be so happy going in.
I know.
No, but I think in the earlier days, yeah, I probably would have struggled with it more. Whereas I see the benefits now. Cathal goes off to school, he loves it. They're very social kids, and they have their little pals, and they have, you know, so they're thriving.
Yeah. I know. I think mums feel guilt no matter what. Like, sometimes I'm like, I feel guilty if I'm away from the boys, for I might have to go to London and I'm not there for the night. And
yeah,
I still have that in their teenagers. It's mad,
yeah, there you go. I do still have it as well, but I know, do you know what it is? And even actually during the filming of the documentary, I realised that I can be away for a night, maybe 2. Beyond that, no, it doesn't serve anyone well. It's no good for the kids. It's no good for me. It's no good for us as a family. It doesn't work. So I suppose I've become quite boundaried about what I'll do and what I won't do. And I suppose I'm saying no a lot more than I ever would, but not in a negative, certainly in a positive.
Yeah.
So, you know, for work, yeah, I'll be away 1, max 2 nights now, but I'll never, if I can avoid it at all, be away for the 3. At times that'll be tricky.
Yeah.
So I went to Norway, I was away 3 nights.
Okay. Well, that's.
But I couldn't get away, you know what I mean? Yeah, so, yeah.
I come back to absolute mentalness when I go away. Like, house is a shithole.
See, I can't say
There's no
that.
food in the fridge.
Really?
Everyone hates each other. It's mad, because I'm in a house with loads of lads, so it's just meant the energy. There's such a mad testosterone energy in my house. Sometimes I actually say to them, I want to move in with mum. I'm going to leave here. I'm going to move in with mum.
And do they all get on?
Yeah, they do. And they're a bunch of lads. So say, for
Yeah.
instance, so yesterday I was able to nip home a little bit early and I made a chicken curry, you know, and they all come in the door and they're starving. They're like, oh, geez, that smell.
Because they're men now, pretty much. What ages are they again? So
17, 14 and 12.
Yeah, so they're big
ladling into the, and then the banter at the kitchen table is just like bloke banter.
Yeah.
And it's like guffawing and laughing and like, you know, yeah, you did this, and like them roaring and shouting. It's like a pub.
Yeah.
In my gaff. It's just, it's wild. And like sometimes I do feel a bit sorry for myself and go, like, this place is lacking so much estrogen. But my sister lives up the road, so I just head up to her and her little girl, and then I have
you get your fix. Yeah.
I have my fix. So I think you need estrogen not only in patch form, but in actual female interactions form.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. Sometimes I do feel sorry for myself. And we even have a male dog, so it's just testicles everywhere. Yeah.
You didn't think that one through at all, did
you?
Well,
he was the only one that was born out of the litter. Like they all died.
Oh, bless. Oh dear.
So we were like, bags him, and then I was like, oh, sure, listen, you know, there's already.
What happened?
They got pregnant with 5, and then the mother absorbed the other 4. And that happens with dogs. Yeah, they can just like absorb them, you know.
What do you mean absorb them?
So they don't even miscarry. They just like absorb the embryo or whatever. I don't know, when they went
early stage.
At a really early stage, yeah.
Ah, okay.
Not like when
I was thinking of tiny little puppies. Sorry, oh God. Okay.
No, like embryonic stage. The mother reabsorbed them or something like that.
Oh, bless.
So he was the only one that was born. So
Well, you'd already committed, is it? To taking?
We'd already committed. And look, I don't mind. Like, I do like it. Like, it was like a baby. I couldn't give any of the babies away once they were born either. So it would have been, I would have felt, you know, fuck it anyway. So yeah, so that was me.
I can't see, the thing is, Damien doesn't really like me talking about him because he's really private.
Yeah.
But like, I have a good. He's really good in the kitchen. He's far tidier than I am.
Yeah.
So I come home to a nice home.
So
I know. What happened there? How did I get so lucky?
Well,
it's
just,
do you know what I mean?
Put it into the universe.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Good for you.
He's a better wife than I am.
We have our reel, and I'm going to send it to Damien. The anxiety documentary, how was that for you? Have you lived with anxiety?
So interestingly, I would have thought no. And it was like the bullying one as well. I was like, oh no, I've never been bullied. And then you kind of think back to old experiences and stuff. And like, oh, wait a second. But I didn't have language for it. I didn't have words for it. So I would have thought, no, I was never bullied. I was never treated. But then you look and you think, oh, wait a second.
Yeah.
And then same with anxiety. Again, I'm brought back to situations, but it was only through listening to people's experiences and going, that's what that was. Because I remember standing on a stage once, and again, it was the early in my career, early 20s, and I was standing on a stage in front of a room of people, introducing people. I was emceeing an event, and I remember feeling like really woozy and like seeing red spots and thinking I was going to faint. But sure, there was a form of a panic attack I was having on stage. It was almost like an out-of-body experience. It was pure nerves that completely overwhelmed me. But again, I didn't have the language for it. So very interesting listening to people. And I suppose we're living in a world where rates of anxiety are higher than ever. So we really need to look at it as to why and give ourselves as many practical tools to help us to navigate it. And then you're also looking at giving people kind of experiences and talking about ways that might help, but also looking at, for certain people, medication is what's worked. And we also need to have a very non-judgmental and open conversation about that. And if that works for you, then, and if it's right for your life, well, then you should be able to experience that and have that in your life guilt-free. You know, so again, it was just always coming from the lens of non-judgment and just listening to people.
Of course. And this is all Oscuelga, is it?
So primarily Oscuelga, but certain interviews were in English as well.
Okay. And can we talk a little bit about the Irish language? Because actually I know that you are a fluent speaker. You grew up in a household that spoke it every day, I gather, yeah?
Yeah, like
you speak it instead of English growing up?
We spoke both.
Okay.
We spoke both kind of growing up, but I suppose we were reared in a Gaeltacht area, so it was absolutely normal. And it is normal for me now to go to my local shop because I'm back living in my home village over the past few years. And it's very, very normal for me to go into my shop and speak Irish.
Yeah.
To people, you know, at the till. So it's nothing strange or wonderful for me because it was simply what I was lucky enough to grow up in that environment where Irish is very much alive and it's very much part of your daily life.
Yeah.
So it wasn't an effort, you know.
And do your kids speak it?
Yeah.
They do?
Well, it's funny because they do, absolutely. Cleana is in it. Like,
See, I even love the way you pronounce her name.
Oh, really?
Cleana. It's really Irish.
Okay,
Cleana.
Yeah.
You know, I just love, but I love the sound of the Irish language. I never put the effort in, and I always wish now that I had, because I think it sounds lovely. I had an amazing Irish teacher in secondary school for the 6 years from Donegal, and he just had the most beautiful accent, Dan Maloney, and he was actually my favourite teacher, even though Irish was my worst subject, because he was just a great teacher and fun and just really, even though I was absolutely shite, he'd bring you in and he'd try and encourage you, you know. And I wish I'd made the effort, but because mum and dad were from the north and it wasn't really a part of their it wasn't really important in their, when they were being educated, then they moved down here and we were all born. And I don't think necessarily our primary schools teach it in a way that's really functional. Like, I think there should be much more spoken, much less like learn off the, what is it, the Mochanilach.
That's right.
Jesus.
Yeah.
When I remember it. So, but I would love to speak more, but it's you know, are they looking to get rid of it from?
I mean, I think a lot of us have been banging that drum for years about how it's looking at how it's taught at school, because for a lot of people, they leave school and they have such an aversion to the language, which is sad. It's sad because it's our language and it's our heritage and it's us, and it's such a huge part of being Irish. Whether we speak it or not, the language is there and it's there for everyone, and everybody, you know. Thing is, like, even though I'm a native speaker, I'm not more entitled Irish than you or anybody else. Do you know what I mean? Irish is for absolutely everyone. And again, you can't talk about Irish without looking at our history. And I suppose 800 years of colonisation is going to fracture your relationship with your own language, which is exactly what still is happening today, where people are having this difficult relationship with the language. They're struggling to... We're experiencing a sort of a revival now, but it's happened at different stages over the years. This is not new, which is great that it's happening now, and I love to see it, and long may it continue, but it's filtering into lots of different areas. People are embracing like Aran jumpers now in a way that they wouldn't have. When I was a kid, like, my mum is from Inishmaun, one of the Aran Islands, and we grew up, because my mum still knits, we grew up wearing these jumpers, but it was like, we didn't want to wear them. Do you know what I mean? But that was always knitting.
That was when you were first bullied, Sheila. Oh, you look at them. You look at the Shoga's wearing the Aran sweaters.
Whereas now,
like the Brady Bunch.
I remember my brother, I'll never forget once, she knitted him a beautiful, and it was cream, but it was kind of a roll neck, and she put it on going to mass, and he was like itchy in the neck, and he was like, get this off me, you know, and I think that was the last he ever wore of the Ganseys. But anyway, like, we can see that there's a real revival happening. You see people like wearing now their clad rings or big like clad earrings and stuff, and like, it's happening in all ways. It's kind of become cool. You're seeing what, you know, what Kneecap have done for the language, what the, you know,
Did you watch
the How to
film
Bail.
Kneecap?
I haven't actually seen it.
Oh my
yet.
God, I watched it on a flight, and it's really good.
I keep hearing how amazing it is.
It is a brilliant film. And I just love the way it's real and modern, the way it's done, but I just love the way the Irish language is dropped in. But they have kind of made it a bit cool.
They have. They've done amazing stuff with it. Yeah, they really have. I know I went off on a bit of a tangent there, but in terms of the language, there's so much to this conversation, because our language was taken from us, and we were beaten for speaking it, and there was so much fear around speaking our own language. You know, that carries on through the generations. We have to still do a lot of unlearning and loving ourselves and loving the language through it, and looking at why we have such a difficult relationship with it. This is something that does come up a lot, and I understand that people have a difficult and they feel a lot of shame around it, but the best thing you can do for yourself, if you're feeling any guilt or shame for not speaking it, is to drop that, because that doesn't help you at all, for starters, and also have more compassion for yourself as to why you have a difficult... You don't just have a difficult relationship with the language. You don't just not speak it. You don't speak it because for years we couldn't, you know, so we need to be a lot kinder to ourselves, and also take the fear away. There's ways of embracing it and bringing it in to your everyday speak, even like people are kind of introducing words in their emails. And even if it feels a bit contrived in the beginning, if you're not somebody that speaks Irish, you'd be surprised how quick you get used to putting in small words here and there, or like Guramahagut or Mila Bueches or, even just quick slán at the end of your... Do you know what I mean? There's ways of doing it.
Well, I think 14 years of enforced education, we should be coming out a lot better than what we are with in terms of just our knowledge. But I do think that, say, I'd be pants at speaking it, but I would understand a good bit just from the fact that I was, not completely switched off in class. But is there talk, and because this comes up in cycles, of removing it as a subject that's
compulsory?
Is there talk of that?
Perhaps, yeah. I don't know.
There's always some chatter about that, and then it's like...
For me,
yeah,
I would feel sad about that.
Yeah, I know, yeah. I know.
Because I do feel like having it taught in schools is a way of, in non-Gaeltacht areas, to give people at least a chance. But I do think how it's being taught it's just not fit for purpose. It's not working. It's not working if people, all they can say at the end of their schooling is like, "Ul cadagum doligaletis," or whatever it is. You know what I mean? That's not what, and language is a living, breathing thing. And Irish is so descriptive and so poetic. It's really very beautiful. It's a playful language, and it's so in touch with the land, the earth. It's in our DNA. It's who we are. So I think rejecting your language is rejecting a part of ourselves as well. I would think that's a sad thing if it was.
But isn't there something like, 40 words for rain in Irish?
Yeah, like Monaghan McGann was the most amazing man for... Yes. Yeah.
He died recently.
He did. Yeah. He did. And he was incredible. He was an incredible spokesperson for the language. He was just an all-round beautiful human being. But his knowledge of the language and where words came from, it was such a pleasure to read his work and to listen to him speak. Obviously, you're going to speak to somebody like me who's going to say, the language is great. But again, I will always admit that. And also, if I grew up in a different area and I wasn't in a Gaeltacht area, I'd probably be somebody who wouldn't have Irish now. You know what I mean? Or I could be. So I know I grew up with real privilege. And it's just a simple reality of where I grew up.
Yeah.
It's just that geography.
Can we talk a little bit about when you were in your 30s, you got diagnosed with the thyroid cancer?
Yeah.
And I didn't know that about you until I was hastily doing a little bit of research 20 minutes before you sat your arse down there. What symptoms were you displaying and what happened to you after that?
I had a massive lump in my neck.
Okay.
Yeah. So I suppose leading up to that, I was 32 when I was diagnosed. And in the time before that happened, I was actually presenting Monday to Friday on RTE with my sister. We had a daytime talk show called Seoige, and I could really see it on camera, this lump in my neck. It probably started in my late 20s, and it started to grow bigger and bigger. And by the time I was 30, it was significant. And then by the time I got it out, it was massive. Now, I'd had a biopsy on it. There's a bit of a backstory. I just don't know how much you want to hear about it. You sure?
Knock yourself out.
So basically, you might be going, why the fuck is she talking about an appendectomy? But there's a reason I'm going to say this, right? So I was presenting with my sister one day and I was feeling crook. I was like, oh God, is it like a tummy bug or what? And then fast forward to us presenting the show together, I was in bits. I was really bad, so much so that she got me to kind of sit out the last part of the show.
Okay.
I was really, really sick, violently sick, like vomiting, and I was like, oh God, I have an awful bug. I just need to get home. And I'm not a person that likes fuss around them, particularly when I'm not well. So I just wanted to be on my own. But later on that night, my sister had a kind of a sixth sense that, no, wait a second, something really wrong with Síle. So she came to where I was and came up to the room and said, you're not right. Get up out of that bed. I'm bringing you to get seen. And actually we went out to the VHI here in Dundrum, and I was living in Donnybrook at the time. All I remember is them asking me like what day it was. And I was like, why are they asking me what day it was? But apparently when the nurse left the room, she'd asked me questions and I'd answered complete gobbledygook. I was out of it with pain. So then I went to the hospital, and that night I had my appendix out.
Okay.
And it was in a situation where it was nasty, I was told.
Okay.
So they were, you know what I mean? It was get her in and get it done fast. So anyway, that was that. I seem to have a fairly okay tolerance for pain, apparently. So anyway,
were they like, how the hell are you still walking?
Well, it's interesting because I think like had my sister not done that, and I suppose she had a sixth sense for it, I was just in the bed like.
No more Síle.
What? No more Síle. Oh God. So anyway, the guy who was on that night wasn't meant to be working, but he he did the surgery. So he came around and he wasn't a randomer off the street. Like, I'm going to say,
Was it the local news?
just phrase that.
Walked in with the knife. So, sure, I'll just remove this one's appendix.
Dennis Evoy, the surgeon, an endocrinologist in Vincent's, and he basically, I don't know, he was on duty or something. So anyway, he performed the surgery, and he came around the next morning and he said, "How you feeling?" I said, "Sure, I'm grand. Sure, I was more, I'd a load of drugs, so I was feeling great." And then he pointed to my neck and he said, "How long have you had that?" I said, because nobody ever said it to me, whether they noticed it or not. But of course, this was his area of specialty.
Yeah.
So he saw it straight away. And I said, "Oh, I've had it now good few years." And I'd gone to different healers and I'd tried different tinctures and I'd done all this kind of stuff. And he said, "We need to get that biopsied." I was biopsied that same day.
Right.
The results came back clear.
Okay.
But then over the next probably 2 years, I think it was 2 years, he was my endocrinologist. As in, he'd keep an eye on me and that kind of thing. But it was growing and growing and growing. We made the decision in the end to take it out.
What was growing? The thyroid itself?
The gland. I had a goiter.
Okay.
So a swelling of the thyroid gland. So on the left side.
And did you have any other symptoms other than?
I was tired. I was all that kind of stuff. I'd had a lot of stress in my life. I suppose prior to that, I had been married.
Oh, I didn't.
Yeah. There we go. So I was married at 26.
Okay.
And I suppose I had gone through divorce.
Yeah.
I had gone through a lot of life changes, a lot of stress in my life. And yeah, I had a huge amount of stress. So that was definitely played its part.
I want to talk more about your divorce.
There you go. Do you?
Let's go with thyroid first.
Yeah. So yeah, it was starting to affect me even as I was sleeping.
Okay.
So I'd be propped up with a lot of pillows because I was starting just to affect my breathing.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, this thing, like I've done everything and I'm all into doing things naturally if I can, but I'm also a big believer in science and there was nothing else that was going to work other than cutting this thing out. Do you know what I mean? At this stage, cutting it out with love, but cutting it out nonetheless. So we made the decision to do it. He'd also made me very aware of the risks because, the gland was so swollen, it was sitting on my vocal folds. So there was a risk to my voice and all this kind of stuff, but he was brilliant at the end of the day. And anyway, I was going into this operation thinking it was nothing to be worried about. It wasn't cancerous because the biopsy came back clear. But anyway, had the surgery. I was home recuperating. I was working in News Talk at the time. I had a radio show at the weekend there and I was looking forward to getting back to work. And I was going in for my appointment and it was like, first appointment, I think on a Monday morning, and I was happy out. The scar was healing well. I was feeling good as one could be after an operation, but I was really itching to get back to work. And then I was told that in fact I had cancer. I had follicular thyroid cancer.
Okay.
I didn't realise that there were 4 different types of thyroid cancer, and the follicular thyroid cancer is a fast growing cancer. So I was very lucky. Actually, the timing of it was really, really key.
You had the biopsy, so you didn't have it then, but then you had it, 3 years later? So
yes, so I had a biopsy probably 2 years prior to it.
Okay.
But then we had a course of action. I was back in very quickly for the second operation. Did you get radiotherapy at all? And then I had radioactive iodine treatment in the Blackrock Clinic, where I was isolated.
I was going to say, were you like,
bizarre. So I'm basically given this iodine in radioactive form, and then I'm in isolation in this room where your food is handed into you. Like there was a hatch at the door and they'd let you know when it was there, and you couldn't be anywhere near it if somebody was coming into the room and all of that. And I had to be very careful after I left as well, not sharing cutlery and stuff in case I'd infect
anyone. Like the film Chernobyl.
Yeah,
you were like,
effectively, it's all of that because you're radioactive for a period of time. So I was just guzzling water, and luckily I cleared it pretty quick.
Okay.
So I was okay. I think by the time I was even leaving the hospital, majority of it had left my body because I was just lurrying the water into me. But I was very fortunate as well. I was 32. I didn't have any kids, at that stage of my life. I think it'd be very different if I was going through cancer now. And I have real compassion for people who, experience a cancer diagnosis and treatment when they're parents. It was just very different. I really only had to focus on myself. But I certainly, when he told me the news, I couldn't get over it because I'm a real optimist. So even though at times I thought, what the fuck? I really didn't think it was cancer. So when he told me, I was like, no, fuck off, really? I was just in utter disbelief.
What size was it when it came out?
About the size of a tennis ball.
Wow.
I wanted to see it.
Yeah.
And
that's like me. I would have been like,
I really wanted to see it. And I said it to him, I said, is there any chance like you could show it to me? And he said, and went straight off to the lab. No. I was like, I really want to see it. Like,
so Jen Rock got her womb out there last year and she sent me a picture of it after.
Go away. I know who's going to love this.
She goes, you're the only person I'm going to send this to. But I asked my doctor to take a little picture of it once it was out so I could send it to you. Happy birthday.
True friends.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, no, I really wanted to see it. I was really annoyed I never got to see it. Yeah.
And did you need any other follow-up care? You didn't need chemotherapy treatment?
I was really lucky I did. But I remember a doc came in to read my file, and I suppose they kind of thought I'd be looking. I'm sure I wouldn't have even understood my file had I read it. And she was reading away. And I went, oh, wow, you're really lucky. And I was like, Oh, it was, it was something, a lot of medical jargon. It was about to penetrate basically it was very close to going into your lymphatic system. So timing was everything for me. I was so lucky because then it would be a completely different course of treatment. But it was starting to, the cancer cells were starting to leave the thyroid gland and venture elsewhere. So she was just looking at, I don't know, the parameters of all these things. Yeah. And she told me that I was really, really fortunate. So yeah, I felt very lucky. And I'm one of these people, and I know many people are. And luckily there are plenty of people like me who live to tell the tale, but also not just live to tell the tale, take all the positives that come with it. Like, I would not change a second of any of it. It was one of the best things that ever happened to me. And it was a very weird thing to say.
What do you mean by that though?
Yeah. It completely changed my life in a positive way.
As in the way your perspective?
Yeah, my perspective on life, what was important. I got to really examine myself. I also went through a breakup in that year that was horrific, really difficult.
Was that your husband? Another one?
No, another one.
You have a few of them. Damien, watch out.
No, Damien, you don't need to worry.
Sounds like he doesn't. We all want a bit of Damien.
So basically
see me in Spiddle talking on Squelga and the local newsagent. So
in a very short time I had gone from thinking I had no cancer, in a relationship, and I had a job. So within a year after that I had gone through breakup.
Stop, you're going to make me laugh. I laugh when I'm nervous.
Yeah, gone through breakup. I was going through treatment for thyroid cancer, and then News Talk gave me the boot.
Did they?
Yeah.
Bastards.
No, I mean, I still listen to News Talk.
I know. So do I.
Yeah.
Do I.
No, but at the time, it was all a bit mental. So I certainly went, what's going? What are you trying to tell me?
Yeah.
What are you trying to tell me? So I was really lost. There was a period, and I will never forget how low I was and how dark things felt for me, and how broken I felt. So that was like your early 30s. I was 32, 33.
So your health, your romantic side of your life,
my life was a shit show.
Work were gone.
Oh yeah, I felt completely dejected and broken, and yeah.
But were your family a good support? You've a tight family.
Yeah, my friends, my family. Yeah. Oh no, I wasn't completely isolated. Yeah. No, absolutely. And I was very fortunate. But nonetheless, I suppose when it comes to anything, it's down to us, isn't it? To mind ourselves and do the work. So, there's a certain amount of wallowing that I suppose is important, and you need to mind yourself. And I'm not a believer that we should never do that. I think you have to, sometimes there's a time and a place to pull the duvet over the head and have a good cry for yourself. But there's also a time when you stop. And I was very lucky again with my support system. And, I remember a conversation with a good friend of mine, and he was saying, well, what are you going to do about it? And I didn't want to hear that question because that was putting it on me. And I remember being very irritated by it. What do you mean? What am I going to do about it? I just wanted to feel sorry for myself. Yeah. And I wanted him to join in the feeling sorry and poor me.
Yeah.
And just, I was in victim mode. But he was absolutely right. And I remember I threw myself into a yoga class, and the rest in a way is history, in that I then trained in yoga, became a yoga teacher, and I did, I kind of took a step back from media. I went on my kind of Elizabeth Gilbert's Eat, Pray, Love years.
Yeah.
I started to really learn about myself and who the fuck am I?
Yeah.
I'm now 33. I'm divorcee. I'm single. what am I doing with my life? You know what I mean? Now it's fine. And when I say, I was let go from News Talk, that's the nature of the job I'm in anyway. So it's not that I was workless. I had still had plenty of work in other ways. So it's fine. But I did take time out to mind myself. And then I went on a load of different retreats and courses and different things and tried to just learn about myself, I remember being on a retreat over in England, sleeping in a barn with a load of strangers, and it was a chant weekend. Chant played a huge part of it, and I remember I had this huge lift because I'd been hanging on with a lot of bitterness probably over the breakup, and I was feeling still quite a lot of anger over it. And then I had this through the practice over the weekend, I remember just feeling it was almost like a physical lift, and I suppose I forgave.
Yeah,
I forgave the other person. I forgave the part I played in it, and it was lovely. It was great, and I kind of was able to then kind of move on to the next stage. So, yeah, again, it's all about learning about yourself, isn't it? But I would love people to get here without having such a massive rock bottom moment. I suppose I had to have a big one because I feel like I wasn't listening to the signs that my body was giving me. When I really tune into it now and I look back, there were plenty of signs that I wasn't minding myself.
Really?
But I wasn't listening. I was under a lot of pressure and I was under a lot of stress, and I was kind of had game face on all the time, and I was probably trying to fake it too much to myself and to others that everything is fine, but things weren't fine.
Yeah.
And some people might find that perspective a bit hard to digest, and I appreciate why. But for me, and I can't say for anyone else, because certainly when kids get diagnosed with cancer, I will never understand that. I will never ever understand why that happens, or when people lose their lives, particularly children, to an awful fucker of a disease. I will never understand that. But for me, I feel like I just wasn't bloody listening. So unfortunately, it took something major, and I was very lucky that I got out the other side relatively okay. I had 2 operations and treatment, and that was it, really. When you're going through it, it feels like a lot, but actually when I look back, and versus what people go through when it comes to cancer diagnosis, it was really straightforward. But what it taught me, what it brought to my life, the positives were just wonderful. And then when you get the all clear, when you find out that you're cancer free, it's like everything looks and smells and feels better. It's like everything is in high definition. I'll never forget walking out of the hospital, and it was like I could hear everything. It was like, super sound, and everything just looked like so perfect to me, and everything was so lovely, and I was just so grateful. And while that does fade over time, I'm definitely very good, and I'm a big believer in practicing gratitude and being grateful, because I have the loveliest life. I'm really lucky in life, and I'm in such a good phase. And I have been for years, if I'm honest. I have 2 kids. I am married to a really brilliant human being. We have a lovely life. I'm very, very lucky. I also know that the rug can be pulled underneath you. So you just don't know what's around the corner.
Yeah.
But it's important to recognise what you have and
be grateful for it.
Be grateful for it.
I know, I left one of the lads into school today. I was kind of running a bit late, so I drove in to work, and he was running a bit late. So anyway, we drove in, and I find now they're at the age where that time in the car is probably the only time you'll get them to themselves.
And they say that with lads, it's great to talk to them. It's not direct eye contact. Yeah. They're kind of just looking ahead.
Yeah, but you have the loveliest laugh. I had such a laugh with them. We were slagging all the others in the house and just having a great crack. And I left, I dropped them to school, and I drove off, and I was like, I'm so happy. That was just lovely. And that was what gave me real joy for the day. I went into work really happy, like that. And I like you, I feel so blessed and lucky that I have those moments. Now, there's moments where I want to choke them all at the same time. Please don't get me wrong, we are absolutely not the Von Trapps, but just, I think, appreciating those moments is a lovely thing to do. And I think it's good for our own well-being, because and maybe this is a segue into what's happening in the world today and how it's affected, I suppose, both of us just personally. We don't even need to talk about professionally, but just with Palestine, with now Venezuela, all I'm hearing about the Congo, it just seems there's this onslaught of awfulness. Like every time I open my phone, another atrocity. There are more children dead. There's people invading countries that they shouldn't be invading. Like what?
And I suppose
despair.
Absolutely, I know, and I get that. And I suppose for a lot of it, it has always been happening, or it's been happening. It's just we weren't bloody aware of it.
Yeah.
It's not like it's just started to happen, which is the really sad thing. But I think for a lot of us, we were just completely unaware. Some of that is by choice, and some of that was just not having access to the footage. Whereas I suppose, you know, when you look at what's happening in Gaza and what has been happening over the past two years, and then obviously the 75 years previous, it's being live streamed. The genocide is being live streamed on our phones. And yes, they're talking about ceasefires, but it's complete nonsense. They're still bombing and murdering Palestinians. It's still happening. And it is very easy to slip into despair. I worry when that happens to me. And I know when it does, I need to take a step back and regulate myself, because I worry that I'll numb out. And I don't want to numb out, because we need people to feel, don't we? We need people to feel moved by it, to do something. And even though it feels like nothing matters, you know, people are taken to the streets, they're protesting, they have been protesting, we've been boycotting, we've been doing all the things, it is still ongoing. So it's very easy to feel, fuck it, it doesn't matter, but it does. We have to keep going with it. We can't stop, because we just need more bloody people to wake up, and not just wake up, but actually, if you feel something, you can do something, even if it feels small, do you know? And I'm not perfect, I'm far from it, but I wish people just became a bit more conscious. Even just things about where you're buying stuff, you know, they're small, and yeah, they might feel inconvenient. Oh, but I love this product. Yeah, but you might get used to an alternative just as well. I just worry about despair. I also completely get it, but I think we can't lose hope. I do feel like more and more people are waking up, and we have to mind ourselves. We do. It's really important that we stay regulated, but that we stay connected also, and understand why it's important. It's important as well that we, especially as parents, I think, to be good role models for our kids and to show them that we care, because it's like that video that I think was released like a year ago, where it's kind of showing, you know, the future. And when they're showing like museums of what happened during the Gaza Holocaust, as it were, the kids would be asking their grandparents, what did you do during that time? And it's a really uncomfortable, I don't know if you've seen that video, but it's a really uncomfortable video where they're realizing that maybe they didn't do anything, or maybe they didn't say anything. So I kind of think of that. That's what keeps me going. It's like looking at my kids, but then also almost looking at myself as a kid. What would I have wanted as a kid? Jesus, I'd want to do something, say something, at the very least, whether you feel like you're screaming into the void or not. You know, it really does matter. And I've found such connection and community in those spaces. There's such amazing people, heart-led people who care. And I think when people numb out, selective or otherwise, I think that's, you know, that's sad. And I hope if you do numb out, that you start to really mind yourself and discover why, so that you can, I suppose, get re-engaged again.
Yeah.
But it's very hard. Like, when you look at the world, you just think, oh my God, are we imploding? What's happening?
It is crazy. And I recognise that it's just because World War II wasn't live streamed to the world. Okay? Yeah. So you could easily kind of say, oh, I didn't really know what was going on there. But we are seeing it. And yes, we're protesting and talking about it. But I feel like in a way we've no real influence, because like it's almost like the big boys at the top are making all the decisions, and like it's.
But I think if more people realise it actually only takes a very small number of a population to actually affect change. It's something like 3.5%. So if 3.5% of the world's population pulled together to push against, like, it's the numbers at either end. So it's the uber rich are in a teeny tiny minority. But if those of us on the other side who are demanding change, it can actually push the dial. But it's when people kick back and feel like it's pointless, that's when this continues. I mean, it might seem idealistic to say that, but I don't believe so. From listening to experts who speak about this, people power is incredibly powerful and can bring about change. And you do see that. You do see where change has happened as well. So it certainly is possible to make changes and put pressure. And you're seeing it, like, you know, with the likes of the Eurovision and the pressure that communities put on their countries to pull out. And it's happening, you know, people are boycotting. So that wouldn't have happened if people hadn't continued to speak up and continued to demand change. We just need to keep the pressure on.
Yeah, exactly. So less despair.
And keep minding yourself. Keep minding yourself. You know, I mean, I even just put up a quick video of me making a mug of cacao for myself, and like the amount of views on it, and it's just like quick, you know, and I mean, I'm crap at making reels, not like you. But again, I just kind of spoke of, it was the day I woke up to the news of that woman Renee being murdered by an ICE agent. And I just remember sitting there in disbelief looking at the videos, the various videos that I saw, and just going, whoa, this, you know, like literally lost for words. And then you have Grok being able to take an image of a child, and in a click of a button, they'll be naked and they can do something absolutely vile sexually. So it was like, what is this world that we're living in? So I realized at that moment that I was kind of struggling to work. My kids are at school, and that's fine, childcare, and they're being minded, but I was kind of not being as productive as I needed to be. So I just needed to chill out and have a mug of cacao and just center myself and ground myself. And that might seem indulgent, but it isn't. It's really, really important to mind ourselves. So whether that's kicking off your shoes and standing in grass, screaming into the void, I don't know, boxing, meditating, whatever is your thing, find your thing. We need to really, really be minding ourselves, especially during these times.
Yeah, no, I think so, absolutely as well.
Yeah.
And pulling back when you need to, and then going back in when you can.
Yeah. And like, I don't view the same volume of videos that I did, because it's, and I know it's important to bear witness. It really is. Part of me is, I think I struggled to, because I'm extremely emotional, so it affects me deeply. But then also, it's not that I don't know. I'm aware now. So there's other ways I can help or do what I can, I suppose. Some people might disagree with that. Some people listening now might say, no, you need to keep watching, and that's fine. But I don't watch the same volume of stuff that I used to, because honestly, there were some days when
I don't either, because it does affect you. It affects the way you think, and it was affecting the way I was speaking, even in the house, and just in general, it makes your mood low. But then I feel, Jesus, oh boo-hoo, Nora, your mood's a bit low. Like, there's actually parents that are losing their children on the other side of the world. It's hard
to balance, right? Because you want to be there. You want to be there for your people in your real life. And you're no good to them if you're not regulated, and you're not. So it's a difficult one to strike the balance. It's very challenging. And certainly I speak to my kids in a way, well, Cleona less so, she's only 4, but Cathal is aware in a way that I feel is appropriate for his age. And he's certainly aware that there's injustices in the world, and he's certainly aware that we will never have McDonald's again, and we haven't had, and he's fine about it. And he's totally, and he'll tell me, okay, my friends still go. And I said, that's okay. And everybody's allowed to do what they're doing, but are you okay about it? I said, yeah. And he understands that his language around it is that Israel are being bullies, and we don't support bullies. And he's fine about it. Do you know what I mean? And we used to love an old Happy Meal.
Sure, who didn't?
You know, but that's grand for us. And this is not about I'm doing great or saying that or anything, but I don't miss it. He doesn't miss it. Well, I hope not. Maybe it'll come up in a therapy chair in years to come. My mother didn't give me McDonald's.
Well, I know my 3 will be sitting across the therapist going, my mother talked about fannies. And I'm scarred for life. So yeah, I think we can all.
No, it's great.
No, I did want to have that discussion with you, Síle, because I do think, and it wasn't even premeditated what I said or anything like that. I do find it so difficult, the world now, and you've just mentioned Grok, and you're trying to be the best
There's
parent
so many layers
to
this.
there's so much available to your children now, and it's like, how do you parent? And even in that parenting documentary, did you discuss social media and how
of course,
it affects
big time
families and
and phones and all of that? Okay. Yeah, for sure.
Good. Remind people where they can watch that documentary.
Oh, thanks a million. So they'll be on TG Cahad on Wednesdays, starting on the 11th, and then the following Wednesday and the Wednesday after that on TG Cahad. Yeah.
And we're going to get this podcast out the week before, so everyone is primed for it as well.
Brilliant.
Can I just talk to you a little bit about rowing your own boat career-wise?
Sure.
Because, you said in your 30s you had a bit of a knock in that, and obviously you've risen from the ashes, but you're your own woman, aren't you really? And do you like that? Is there a little bit of like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing from one year to the next, but you kind of like that.
Yeah. Do you know what? It's all I've ever known, you see, because I started TV presenting at 19. I've never known anything else other than I'm on a job for a particular amount of time and then I'll move on to something else. And you know what? When I was younger, and I'm kind of person, I just roll with it. But there were times when I was earning good money and other times when I didn't have a bean. You know what I mean? Especially when I was younger, I was rubbish with money. So there'd be times when I remember once I was so smashed. I opened the press and there was just like hairy spuds in the press, and I was like cleaning off, the bits that grow on it.
Yeah.
And I was like,
I just pull those knobs off all the time and bang them in the oven. The lads don't know.
Yeah. And then I was just like, yeah, okay, maybe I need to get better with my finances. But look, I'd always get something out. That was very early on. Do you know what I mean? When you'd be hopping from one thing to the next, and you were young, so it was grand, and you'd be fine. But I feel it's kind of hard for me to answer, but the lucky thing is I've worked on lots of different kind of work over the years, from TV presenting and radio, and now obviously I do my podcast, which I love, and I still do my MC work, and then with the documentaries and different stuff. You know, it's exciting. I love it. But then again, I'd never know, like, I don't have a grand master plan. Do you know what I mean? I want to keep building on it. I probably could do with taking a bit more time out to actually plan and actually see where I want to be.
Yeah.
In say 5-10 years.
Oh Jesus, the 5-year plan.
Do you do that?
I do not. I don't have a 5-minute plan. I don't. And even I genuinely don't. And for 3.5 fucking years since I launched the business, I've been trying to get a fucking content calendar going, as in like, we're going to post this. Like I still haven't managed it. And I have a team working with me now and we still can't do 2 days ahead of us because everything just seems to happen. Yeah. As in, it's really hard to, we'll say, I'll do this today. And I go into work going, I'll do this today. And then I just get pulled in all kinds of directions. Yeah. It's tricky. Like even launching new products. Like I've up to the nth not had an advertisement to go with the launch of a new product, even though I knew the new product was coming like 2 months ago. It's just mad. So that is my resolution for 2026 is to have a content calendar that's at least like 3 days in advance. So at least I'm not like continuously living in an anxious mode, because I do feel like fucking chasing my tail all the time. Yeah. But it's mad. But maybe in a messed up way, I kind of like that. But it's probably not great for other people to work like that, because I'm like, it's 6 o'clock. I'm like, okay, what are we posting at 6:05? And everyone's like, what do you mean? We're fucking nothing planned. Yeah. So I need to probably so I can hang on to my amazing stuff.
Yeah. They're used to how you work. And know you. And and that's what's so brilliant about your mind and how you work is, and I know you spoke about it before, because your ADHD is probably just the way it is.
Yeah, no, it's the way I've always done it, but it's probably not amazing. It is working currently, but I remember someone asking me what my 5-year plan was, and I literally said to them, I don't have a 5-minute plan.
But look what you've done.
I don't even know what I'm making for dinner tonight.
Versus the 5 year, like, incredible stuff. Amazing.
Thanks. Do you have a 5-year plan?
Not at all.
Yeah.
I just feel like, look, I've healthy, happy, contented kids. Long may that continue. Yeah. Like, none of us know what's around the corner. I never take for granted. I just think,
I'm like, you could be literally run over by a bus tomorrow, so you might as well. That's why I went to India we took 3 weeks out in India.
Yeah, amazing.
I've always wanted to bring the lads. I'd travelled there before. And
did they love it?
They
had such an experience.
They were shocked by it initially, because we went to Old Delhi on the set. Literally, we arrived, we had 1 night's sleep, and then I went straight into Old Delhi, and it's an assault of the senses. The smells, the sights, the sounds, the beep 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 constantly. The cows walking around, avoiding the cow poo on the road. But it is an amazing country, and the people are amazing. And I really wanted them to see that there's more to life than, living where they currently live and doing what they currently do. And
all these experiences just enrich, and especially at a young age like that, where they're getting that experience, that will stay with them.
Yeah, I hope so. I think it did have an impression upon them. It did. And we went, I showed them like lovely things, and then I showed them not so lovely things.
Yeah,
They got a real sense of it. But the world is mental. And even like you talk about colonisation of Ireland for 800 years, like, there was an awful number done on the Indians as well.
Of course.
Christ almighty, like the fallout from all of that too. So I suppose for all humans in this world trying to live together, I think we can do so much better to make sure that the world is a better place for everyone. But Jesus.
I remember going to Calcutta, or Kolkata as it's called now. I think
did
about
you?
10 years ago.
Did you?
Think about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
With the Hope Foundation.
Yeah. What was that like?
And it was an amazing trip. It was beautiful. It was powerful, but also, whoa. Like, I remember the day we went to a dump and there were people living there and kids, the most beautiful kids, scrambling in the dump. The smell, the sights, I couldn't process it at all. I remember coming back and I think I stood in the shower and cried for about an hour.
Yeah.
I just couldn't. I couldn't process it at all.
Yeah.
And I just felt such guilt for my lovely life. And, you know, we live with such privilege, don't we? We live with such privilege. And the world is so unjust in so many ways. But it is important. We need to experience these things to expand our compassion, our hearts, and realise that, you know, we can't just live in our little bubble or cocoon I don't even, sorry, it's hard to get up so upset.
Okay.
But jeez, it just brought me right back. Yeah. Couldn't function. I literally couldn't process what I was seeing. And then people are buying fucking outfits on Shein. And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we all need to cop the fuck on.
Yeah.
We live in such an too much world. Like, we've just come through Christmas. We bought all the shit. We bought all, you know what I mean? And I say that as much to myself as to anyone else. The more you learn, the more you feel, the more you realise that it's not good enough to just ignore it. So fair play to you for doing that. While that might have been a difficult experience for them in some ways, I'm sure it'll stay with them and it'll shape the men they become also.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So sorry, did not mean to get upset.
No, but it's the human reaction, isn't it?
Yeah.
I even brought them to a little a mountaintop village, okay? That was, I swear to God, it was a room no bigger than this at the top of a mountain, where it was a baby weighing and vaccination clinic, a school, and also a place where women were learning, the women of the village were learning how to sew garments that they could sell to a co-op that the women technically own, but the garments are sold to the co-op, to the retail store that then, you know, people like me come in and buy stuff, or else they might have contracts with bigger organisations around India to sell a number of these items. But they're trying to teach women off this village, and they do this with a number of villages around India, that they can earn their own money, because basically the women are doing everything on the farm. So say they may own a small plot of land, but the women have moved to their husband's plot of land. So the husband owns the land and everything that comes from it, but the women are doing all the farming work and raising all the children and hopefully bearing boys, because boys are the ones that then inherit that farm, and the girls just go off like they did to their mother-in-law and look after the mother-in-law in their older years. So in this environment, they're trying to teach women how to sew, so they can go home and sew some garments and get some, what they call pocket money for themselves. So they have a little bit of money and a slight bit of independence. And we brought the lads to that. I had arranged it with the co-op to come, and it just so happened that the day we arrived, the next day they were going to visit the village, because otherwise we would have just been able to see the production factory. So brought the boys up there, and there was like little kids running around, so 12 or 14 little kids. The mothers all had babies that were breastfeeding as well, and the kids just loved my boys. Now these kids were barefoot. There was no arse in the trousers. But one of the lads brought a drone. I'm sure, you know, initially they were a little bit like cautious, and I just remember their big brown eyes. And one of the lads had a banana, and he just opened up the banana. Sure, they all wanted a bit of the banana. And then he was flying the drone, and they all were mesmerised with this drone. But my boys started lifting them up as if they were controlling the drone. So one of the boys was like pushing the drone up and down, and when the little kiddies were throwing their hands up in the air, they thought that was controlling the drone. And my boys when it was time to leave, we spent about 2 or 3 hours there. When it was time to leave, I said, okay, let's go. And the lads were like, oh, no. What do you mean? We don't want to go. And it was so lovely for them to see that. And just all these little kids just running around barefoot and like happy little people, but just such a different life to them. And then the babies in the baby clinic, you had young women there with their little babies, and the babies didn't wear nappies.
Yeah.
And the babies were just wearing, it was just like cloth, but perfectly clean. There was no smell. They were as clean as any baby that you and I would have. But no nappies, none of this stuff that we would take for granted. And there was a nurse there and just giving the vaccines in a little shed-like place, made a little bit of concrete. There was a few things on the wall, a chalkboard, trying to teach the kids how to read something. And I was just like, my goodness, this is the way people live.
And that's the thing. And I think it's because, and that's what really hit me as well. And I think why I was so deeply affected and upset about it was the people who were living at the dump were happy. The kids were, again, and they are stunning.
Yeah.
Beautiful, big brown eyes and big smiles. Yeah. And there's birds and pigs and it's filth. It's filth.
Yeah.
It's literally mounds of filth. And the smell is... like we got out of the bus, I could barely breathe. It was so horrific. And yet these people living there were happy.
Yeah.
Were happy with their lot. This was all they knew in life. And I just went, so fucked up. That we live in a world that they don't know anything beyond this. This is their world. And I think the guilt overcame me of my wonderful Western life and being a white woman. I was like, oh God, I felt so deeply embarrassed and guilty and uncomfortable and angry with myself. And Jesus, I went through a big thing. Like I remember I wasn't able to leave the room that night. Then I ordered a gin and tonic to the room after about an hour crying in the shower, and I went to sleep.
No, it is amazing. And in India, there's that disparity. So there's the 5-star hotels that are glorious and actually quite cheap for us to frequent because they seem like pretty good value compared to what a 5-star hotel would be here. So you have that and the amazing food and the attentive staff.
Yeah.
Literally, we went to a place that looked like a palace. Like when we were driving in, one of the boys was like, oh my God, this is like a palace and amazing and so much food. And outside that hotel, camped outside all the way along it were makeshift tent. Like you couldn't even call it a tent. It was just material. People living.
Yeah.
Fires, and they're all standing around the fire, food. And the cow sitting beside them.
Yeah.
The cow that's making them their milk. So yeah, it is a crazy world. I feel we went down a bit of a dark path, and I'm sorry now if we did. But actually, I do feel that these conversations are really important because we can't just do like
they are
shite all the time.
They are. No, absolutely. No, I didn't mean to get so upset, but look, that's just the reality of it, I suppose. It brought me right back to that feeling. And, sometimes it's important to be reminded about these things, So I'm actually grateful for it because actually at times, even though I'm an emotional person, at times I worry that I am starting to numb out. So I'm actually grateful for tears when they come.
You're definitely not numbing out, Síle.
No, okay. Yeah.
I have 2 questions to ask you that I ask every guest.
Okay.
So you can go, you don't need to cry for these. But actually you might, because they're meaningful actually. But anyway, the first one is, what bit of advice would you give young people today? Seeing as you're so old and wise.
Yeah. I suppose, discernment is so important. Not just taking the first thing you see as the full picture, especially now in the world in which we live in, especially when it comes to social media. Look beyond the video. Look for other sources of a situation, see if I'm seeing the full picture. Do you know what I mean? Because it's often, particularly when it comes to algorithms and all the rest, you can be fed a narrative. So I suppose just make sure that you're curious and you're asking questions because you may not be seeing the full picture, especially in a world that's so powered by social media. I think it's important for young people to be aware.
Yeah.
I suppose to really open your eyes and be prepared to see another point of view and a perspective, because you find that people can become quite entrenched in a viewpoint from an early age. And I know that I'm very left-leaning in my everything. You know, I've known that about myself for a long time. But I think before you make up your mind of where you stand, have a real good look around. Because you see it with people and they get caught up in having a certain viewpoint. And that viewpoint might be quite destructive. Even if it is seductive, it might be destructive. Not sure if that's a good answer, but...
It's your answer. Of course it's good. How you feel.
Okay.
And what's the meaning of life?
Oh, I mean, it's an amazing question. The meaning of life. Oh, it's a hard one, isn't it? It's a hard one to answer, particularly when we've just spoken the way we have about the world. Love is the meaning of life. You know, leading with your heart in everything you do is all that matters. And I don't mean that in a kind of a Hallmark movie kind of way. I mean that in a way that will lead you to stand up for somebody who's maybe suffering, who will make you stand up for yourself if you're not doing well. Lead with your heart. It'll never lead you down the wrong path. And it is the meaning of everything. Everything comes back to love, you know, because on the other side of love is fear, and we can't lean into fear. We have to see it, respect it, but also realize that the only way to overcome fear is through love and by love and embracing it and allowing it fuel us in life. So for me, the meaning of life is love. I'm very fortunate. I feel like I've won the lotto in life and what I have in my world. And I'm not talking about money in the bank. That really doesn't matter. But I know I'm comfortable. My kids are healthy and well. And I married a really, really great man. And God, I'm so lucky. Do you know what I mean? So for me, the meaning of life is being grateful for what I have. And even if I was single and I had no kids, I'd like to think that I would still have that perspective. Being alive. Being able to, you know, whatever we have ourselves and whether our body parts work, but hanging on to what's good will fuel us to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, and let love guide us through it.
Oh, Síle, I knew this would be a lovely podcast. It was great.
Oh,
thanks so much for coming.
thanks.
Honestly, it's so lovely.
Oh, thank you.
I'm not taking any of that out. Any of it. Are you navigating perimenopause or menopause? Then Fabushroom's Meno Peri is the supplement blend for you. With the functional mushroom lion's mane plus essential vitamins and minerals to support hormone balance, energy, metabolism, bone health, and just give you your mojo back. Join the hundreds of thousands of women who love this blend and who, in their own words, feel more like themselves again. Check out these amazing reviews on fabulwellness.com, available on fabulwellness.com and in pharmacies and health food stores nationwide.